Hi, and welcome to my 2015 year in review, or 2015, the year that was. Well, let's see. In 2015, there were plenty of events that could have happened but didn't. And then there were those events that happened that certainly weren't planned, which is always fun when those happen. There was a couple of those. We'll start way back at the beginning of the year when I decided to retake the final class I needed to take. It was a class I'd taken before but failed miserably. But it was I wanted to take that class again to try and pass it and complete my computer networking certificate. Certificates, actually, as it turns out, there are two of them that Antelope Valley College, the college I attend, gives out. And I was able to pass my classes, and I hated the world history class I took. It was sort of fascinating, but sort of boring at the same time, until we got to like the last 2 weeks of class. But it was, I think I would have rather taken U.S. history. But either way, it was a pretty fun semester at Antelope Valley College, and so ended a 3-year amount of time there at AVC. Man, time flies by. I can't believe I was there for a total of 3 years. Mostly every semester, with only one exception, really. I was there. And so I got that. I finally got my certificate in the beginning of... I finally was able to grab that in the beginning of September. So I actually have that, and it's all good. And that was probably the first major thing that occurred for me in 2014. And I'll say this, the month of May was very, very cold overall. As a weather nerd, in Southern California, I look forward to the month of May usually, as it starts to get nice and warm generally, and you kind of look forward to summer and such. But not in May. No, in the month of May, it was very, very chilly. It was more winter-like. Rather cold for the month of May. Some areas, one of my friends went to Denver, Colorado, and they were de-icing planes and everything else during the kind of the early middle part of May when they were out there in Denver. And I was like, wow, that's certainly not normal for it. So it finally didn't really warm up until like the end of the month. May was exceptionally cold overall. But once the summer hit, it was, a typical summer. It was nice and warm and hot at times. It wasn't the hottest summer that I can remember. Actually, I think the hottest temperature it got to in Bakersfield was, 107, 108, I think. I don't totally know because my entire summer was not in Bakersfield. It was in August. I went to Oregon. Of course, Oregon's a beautiful place in the summertime, actually. It's quite nice. You feel like you're on a 8,000-foot Southern California mountain all the time, because the temperature rarely gets above 80 degrees. And when it does, they consider it hot. In Oregon, it'll get to about 90 degrees maybe 10 days out of the year during the summer. So, but it's a rather nice place up there. Went up there in August, and currently back down here at my sister's here. Currently, as we begin 2016. But one of the other things that happened during 2015 was I got to go to Mount Gleason, which is a spot that I don't believe most people can get to anymore, ever since the station fire which was, what was that, 6 years ago now? Over 6 years ago. I think it's going to be 7 years ago this summer, this coming summer. And so I got to go up there, played radio up there. Got to see the Camp 16 Memorial, which is that's the fire camp that got pretty much wiped out with the station fire. A couple of firefighters actually lost their lives, and they fell off the mountain pretty much while they were trying to escape the fire and the flames of the station fire. There were plenty of wildfires in 2015, lots of them. Those don't seem to go away, they just seem to intensify. It was a relatively dry year, but that would change. In the month of October, we had, it felt more like the tropics for a good chunk of the month. Down in Southern California and in Bakersfield, there were even some flash floods that occurred in some areas. It got well over 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain in very little time. In fact, there was a flash flood out near Tehachapi that had cars floating, being swept downstream, and just causing havoc for many unsuspecting people that got caught in that. I think we had the most extended summer possible because the warm weather that normally greets us through most of the summer kind of hung on all the way through to the end of October, really, which is highly unusual. Usually by the middle of October, the weather kind of calms down and it gets much cooler very quickly, but that didn't happen until into November. But I mean, we were having temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, and I think even into the low 90s into the middle of October. So that was highly unusual for the areas that I've been to. And the weather issues continued all the way through the end of the year. El Nino, it was announced that El Nino would be making a comeback, and it did, and still is making a comeback, even as of now. We've had a bit of a break from the weather, but it's going to get rainy again next week. And many areas, in fact, the East Coast, did not have a white Christmas as they often do. Much of the East Coast, including Boston and New York and places like that, had very warm temperatures, like into the 60s and 70s, where they would normally be in the 30s and 40s, and they'd have snow on the ground most likely. So yeah, we had lots of weather. And of course, sadly, I must report that during 2015, there were more mass shootings. Those don't seem to go away. I wish they would, or at least, something could be done about them. We seem to have a lot of mentally ill people that want to go on mass shootings, which is sad. Very, very sad. There was a journalist that got killed on live TV. That certainly was not cool. That, there was that. There was the church shooting that happened at a church in, was it North Carolina? Or no, South Carolina, I think it was. And then more recently, there was the shootings there was the one in San Bernardino, very close to areas that I'm familiar with in Southern California. There was a mass shooting there back on December 2nd, I think it was. And there was a, not long before that, a few weeks before that, in the middle of November, there was a absolutely horrific terrorist attack in Paris, throughout Paris, at like 3 or 4 different spots. Very highly coordinated and very not cool. So ISIS has gotten stronger, and lots of terrorist attacks seem to be happening as a result. And it's not fun at all. and I just pray that things might calm down, but I'm not hoping for it. I mean, I'll make predictions. I don't normally do that on these year in review things. Um, I believe we will have more mass shootings, sadly. Probably at least one will be very tragic. I think that ISIS, the terror group, will get more organized. We might even see another U.S. terrorist attack, or even maybe a couple of them. Um, so there were events in 2015 that could have happened but didn't for me. One was the 75th National Federation of the Blind Convention in Orlando, Florida. I so wanted to go to that. I actually tried to go to that, tried to make a reservation. Did not work. I got put on a waiting list. It was never called back, so never made it to Orlando. And I had a backup plan which almost worked. In fact, it was within 5 days of working. However, an expired ID would stop that. And after much thought, I was going to try and go for it, but after much thought and advice from fellow friends and recommending that I could get stuck at either airport, I decided to forego the idea. But the backup plan essentially was to go visit some good friends that I've known for many years but have never met personally out in Richmond, Virginia. Had I done either trip, I would have gotten to the East Coast for only the second time in my entire life. Well, that did not happen in 2015. I got so far as to have bought the airline ticket and had everything booked and was going to do it, and then with 5 days to go, I canceled everything because it was apparent that it was best that I not do that while I had an expired ID. Well, when I was up in Oregon, I fixed that. I've now got a valid ID, so that is good. I am good to go now for flying wherever I want to in the country. I should be anyway. Although there is talk of requiring passports now to fly even domestically, which to me is silly because when I think of a passport, I don't think of that as a form of ID. But for some reason, they want to have you require a passport, which is like, nearly 9-10 times the price of a normal ID. So, well, no, it's not that expensive, but it's still like 6 or 7 times more expensive. It's very pricey compared to the cost of just getting an ID. So we'll see. I do eventually want to get a passport. That is something I want to do, but I need to, pay some credit cards down and be able to comfortably spend. I want to comfortably spend $150 or whatever it costs to do a passport. So that is in the works. That is a goal I have because I do want to visit Canada and possibly other countries in the future as well. So that was the biggest event that could have happened but didn't in 2015. There was a mishap with a SpaceX rocket that launched in June, the CRS-7 mission that launched, and just a couple minutes into flight, it would suffer an explosion, and SpaceX would not fly a rocket for 6 months. They just recently, just a few weeks ago, in December, got back into space after a few weather-related launch delays. They finally successfully got back into orbit, and in fact, not only did they get back into orbit, but they successfully landed was it SpaceX? Yeah, SpaceX, I believe it was, landed a rocket vertically. Normally rockets are not reusable, and they successfully landed one at one of the launch sites, one of the old launch sites. So that was done toward the end of the year, and overall it was a relatively light year as far as there weren't too many, I didn't go to too many exciting places or whatnot. I went to Mount Gleason, I went to different hills around Oregon. I got to go a few different places within Oregon. But overall it was a rather quiet year for me, rather light. Like I said, there was the event that could have happened but didn't. But who knows? Maybe that'll happen in 2016. I have another shot of going to Orlando this summer. Perhaps I can do that. Maybe maybe I'll get to go to Virginia as well. It'd be really cool if I could throw both trips in this year, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what 2016 brings. It will be interesting. I hope it'll be a good year. I hope it'll be one that I can look back on and go, wow, will this be the best year of my life? Will it be another light year? Of course, it's way too early to tell. But that's pretty much a nutshell of what happened in 2015 from my perspective. And as usual, I'm sure I missed something, but hopefully I at least caught the major highlights of the year. So everyone take care, and we'll see you in 2016, and hope that everyone tries their best to enjoy and make the most of their upcoming 2016. And don't forget, this is an election year, so get out and vote. I did for the first time in 2012, so we'll do it again in 2016. That was fun, most likely. And also, in 2016, don't forget, we get an extra day. It is a leap year this year, so enjoy the extra day that everybody gets, free of charge, by the way. It's a courtesy day, don't you know? Anyway, take care. Have a great year, everybody.